I was a scrawny little kid, and these two big boys trying to dunk me in the urinal. A lot of that happened through most of high school as well.
How does Adesanya go from being bullied to being one of the greatest fighters of all time? Beginning Taekwondo as a kid, and then moving on to kickboxing at the age of 18, he felt he was destined for greatness and decided to pursue fighting as a career, despite his parents begging him not to.
Came into our room one day and said that I'm going to Auckland. I said, why? He said, I want to pursue my kickboxing career.
I was devastated.
Then when he got there, his coach didn't see any potential in him either.
He couldn't get rid of me. When I moved to Auckland, he kind of tried to give me options, but I was like, nah, I'm good.
So against his parents' wishes and his coach's best judgment, he willed himself to his first amateur fight in 2009 and lost. Despite everything in the world telling him to give up, something inside of him told him to keep fighting, and he went on to amass a 75-4 kickboxing record before switching to the UFC, becoming the middleweight champion and then one of the biggest superstars the company has ever seen. But what was Adesanya's secret weapon? What was inside of him that helped him keep going despite the resistance he faced? To understand why Adesanya is the way he is, we must first understand the hierarchy of needs. In 1943, psychologist Abraham Maslow developed the hierarchy of needs. He theorized that human beings have an innate desire to become all they can be, which is to self-actualize, which he represented at the top of the pyramid. However, before that, we must first fulfill the rest of the pyramid in order. First, our survival needs such as food and water. Then our psychological needs such as self-esteem and intimate relationships. Then we can pursue what we were born to do, fulfill our potential and self-actualize. Self-actualized people come from all walks of life, but typically share the same 7 characteristics. The first one is that self-actualized people are true to themselves rather than pretending in order to impress others. Adesanya constantly throws up jutsus and poses from animes. This is a prime example of him being true to himself, especially since anime is typically seen in a negative light.
I kind of like it because I'm comfortable with myself. I'm comfortable with expressing myself authentically. And yeah, when you're able to do that, no one can use your truth against you.
Now the culture's changed. I feel like I kind of helped in that way, just being my authentic self. That's how I felt. I felt like this is not just anime, but whatever. Like, I'm just gonna express myself how I want to.
Self-actualized people lean into who they are and put their true self on full display because they're proud of who they genuinely are. The second trait of self-actualized people is they are independent and less likely to rely on external authorities to direct their life. What this means is they don't need other people to validate them. They live their life the way they want to for themselves and not for anyone else's approval. Israel is quoted multiple times as not knowing where his belt is because he knows he's a champion with or without external validation.
The belt, how heavy is it?
The belt, oh, it's quite, I actually don't know where it is right now. I bet Eugene knows where it is. I'm not attached to that thing at all. I know who the fuck I am. I've been the champ before the belt.
I forget I'm the champ all the time. I didn't even have the belt with me. My belt's somewhere at the gym or somewhere at my coach's house. Like, I never really attached myself to that thing.
The third trait of self-actualized people is they can cultivate deep and loving relationships. The psychology behind this is that self-actualized people are giving from an overflowing cup. Because self-actualized people truly embrace who they are, they have the opportunity to truly embrace others, and this leads to deeper relationships. In contrast, only a small percentage of people truly accept and embrace who they are. You can't truly accept and embrace others if you don't truly accept yourself first. The fourth trait of self-actualized people is the tendency to exude gratitude and maintain a deep appreciation even for the commonplace blessings in life. Self-actualized people are fulfilling their potential and becoming the greatest possible version of themselves. As the self-help guru Tony Robbins says, progress equals happiness. Self-actualized people are happy because they are progressing to their fullest potential. The journey of pursuing your calling and becoming your best self is filled with happiness and gratitude. Yes! The fifth trait can discern from the superficial and the real, and the sixth trait, seldom depend on the environment or culture to form their opinion, often go together. Someone who can discern from the superficial and real often forms their own opinion, regardless of what other people think. Izzy speaks up for what he believes and often puts himself in the line of fire for it. From fighter pay, to defending Joe Rogan, to criticizing the New Zealand government, it is more important for him to speak his truth than to avoid potential criticism.
I'm not saying like, pay the debutant some crazy money. I'm just like, nah, pay them enough to be able to
train, feed their family, and actually not have a second or third job.
I had a question for you around Joe Rogan. There's been a lot of controversy.
Joe Rogan is one of the nicest, coolest, humble motherfuckers I've had the pleasure of working with. So that's my nigga, Joe Rogan. Fuck the noise.
While most UFC fighters would be afraid to critique fighter pay as it might negatively affect their career, Izzy speaks up for other fighters as he knows it's a real issue that needs to be addressed. On top of that, during the attempted cancellation of Joe Rogan, many celebrities such as The Rock publicly distanced themselves from him. Adesanya, by contrast, spoke up for the real. Self-actualized people are honest and courageous, even if it causes unpopularity. They value their morals more than the potential repercussions. And the last trait of self-actualized people is the tendency to view life as a mission which calls them to a purpose beyond themselves.
But now, worldwide, the name Adesanya is synonymous with greatness. Forever is synonymous with greatness. And I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure if you have that name Adesanya, you're proud to be like, yep, I'm tied to that bloodline.
Self-actualized people see far beyond what's just in front of them. Israel's goal is to be in the history books forever as one of the GOATs and wants everyone who ever has his last name to be revered. Becoming world champion was a mission for himself. Tying his bloodline and last name to greatness forever is a mission bigger than him. Which brings us to the question, how do I self-actualize? It's been estimated that less than 2% of the population achieves self-actualization. And that's because 98% of people are outer-directed. Being outer-directed means conforming to the values and standards of one's group or society. Self-actualized people are the opposite. They are inner-directed. To be inner-directed is to be directed in thought and action by one's own values. Adesanya's parents didn't want him to be a fighter. Society didn't want him to be a fighter. Even his coach didn't want him to be a fighter. But he did. Self-actualized people base their decisions on their own instincts and not on what the outside world might think. Maslow believed that inside each of us is an internal voice that is guiding us to our true and best self. Following that internal voice, our greatest self emerges. Failure to listen to that voice results in psychological unease, a deep dissatisfaction that we did not give it all we had. And this coincides with a discovery made in the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. In this book, a hospice nurse noted that people on their deathbed had 5 main regrets for their life, with by far the #1 regret being, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Adesanya has lived a life true to himself on multiple levels. First, his personality is a fearless expression of who he is in a world that is trying to make you the same as everyone else. Then within fighting, his striking is a unique expression of himself and his rejection of traditional striking styles.
People still say, get your hands up. I'm like, that's textbook. I don't read the textbook. I had to look at it. It was all right.
For every Israel Adesanya that pursued their inner calling and forged their own trail, there are millions of people that never do, and choose to walk a safe trail laid out for them by someone else that leads to where everyone else is going. Which path are you on?